one of the objectives of Spotlight on Spirit is to be able to have a safe place to talk about all things religion, all things faith, all things spiritual, and how they're evidenced in our everyday life. Also, resources that are available to help us, because you two have probably. So I wanted Sister Marlys, you to come on, and anyone else. And so I would like a little bit of introduction, and we'll just get started talking about Assisi Heights, because it has been a mainstay in the Rochester community, which is part of the Southeast Minnesota location, for quite some time. It has been very helpful for individuals. It's been a respite. It's been a place of challenge. It's been a place of education. It's been a place of information. It's home for some people. And hopefully we'll be able to unpack all of that a little bit. And for the audience, that Spotlight on Spirit is hosted by the Department of Minnesota American Legion. That means, yes, they've been nice enough to. So the main audience, of course, is veterans and their family, but everyone is spirit and everyone has a soul and everyone can benefit. So as our audience grows, this podcast will probably help people find you in the future and how far out. So,
and Patricia is a veteran,
Air Force. So,
welcome.
Kinship with American Legion and with the military veterans, I think is a beautiful thing. I think a spiritual outreach has not been a major part of the interface with that community, and I think this is a beautiful thing. So,
well, thank you, Patricia. I appreciate that.
Especially, I didn't serve in a wartime situation, but we certainly have a huge number of war veterans.
One of the things that, just background a little bit, President Trump, when he was the president, he signed what is, I can't remember what it's called, but everyone has served. We've actually been in active war in some capacity or another in America since 1941.
That's true.
And so he opened up that door for the American Legion platform for people that have served in the military to recognize their service, whether it was in direct hand-to-hand combat, on the combat field, or in the continental United States or around the world in some capacity. And so that has been helpful for veterans to recognize that service is service, regardless of where you were, the time frame.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Right.
Yeah. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to you two a little bit. If you could explain what is Assisi Heights, how long it's been, and give me a little bit of the rundown of what Assisi Heights does, as well as introduce yourselves even further. And you can start anywhere you want.
Okay. Well, Assisi Heights is really the home of the Sisters of St. Francis. But our history has included a lot more than that, because originally Assisi Heights property itself was part of the Native American countryside. Like the Dakota and the Ho-Chunk Native Americans lived here on this property we're assuming. And we feel that they have indeed blessed this land before us. And we just have been benefited by their holiness and all that they brought. In fact, the Ho-Chunk Native Americans, who are mostly in Wisconsin now, call themselves the people of the sacred voice.
Oh my!
And I think there really is a sacred voice that exists in our country, and we claim it on our land, as well as with the Dakota. The Dakota, the big essence of their life is kinship. And I think Assisi Heights desires and tries to be akin with all the people of this geographic area, Southeast Minnesota, but particularly Rochester. And we wish to share it with other people. It's not just ours. We, as Franciscans, don't believe that we, in a sense, own anything. And of course, that's part of Native culture as well. We are just here as caretakers and stewards of the property while we're here. And so we're trying to carry out that imagery is in what we do, in what we believe, in what we value, and what we think are our virtues that we can share with the people of this area.
Sister Marlys, you unpack so much right there that we could spend so much time talking about just the fact that stewardship versus ownership, partnering with, and then how do you view and treat the tangible aspects of living on this land. Oh my goodness. Thank you. I appreciate
One of the
that.
things is one of the things we believe is this is really a holy ground. And with holy ground, you need to tend it, you need to care for it, you need to, and we've been trying for ages upon ages to be environmentally friendly. And like we don't use any sprays unless we absolutely need to have to use them for some reason or another. But we have bees on the property and hope to help, to pollinate the fruit and vegetables of our garden and all the things that we eat in the neighborhoods as well, and then enjoy the sweetness of their honey at the same time. So the holy ground is one thing, but we also believe it's that the environment offers a reflective place for us to get in touch with the spirit and who God is in our life, no matter how we describe God or how we name God, because we believe in interfaith and that we don't just have one name for God. I think it's the Muslims who have 99 names for God.
Yes.
Well, I think there's 199. And we just need to be able to let that environment soak into our bones and into our spirit, and find where that leads and where it gives our heart energy to go out and work in the general public.
Yeah, we as humans struggle with this knowledge that we think we know, how to define something that's beyond our human definition, right? And then the ownership piece that we know the correct way. And so the transcending piece sounds like it's interwoven into the fabric and the ideology and the theology of the Franciscan sisters. Oh my goodness. And
you might want to add something on that too, because you've got the spirit in you.
Well, sister, you didn't introduce yourself yet.
Well, my name is Marlys Jacks. I'm a Franciscan sister. Just celebrated my Jubilee on Sunday, so that was a wonderful experience. And I have been a Franciscan for a number of years, but in addition to that, I've been at this position as the program director in the Spirituality Center for almost 10 years. So I've got a history with me, and I was part of the Spirituality Center not when it first began in the early 70s, but in mid-century. No, a little more than mid-century, but it was that I was also involved in the Spirituality Center, though it was called something different at that time.
Do you want to explain a little bit more about sisters and nuns?
Well, there's a difference between sisters and nuns, yes. We are Hollywood has confused it, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
Because they're the ones who, whenever they see anyone in a habit, they call them nuns. And they could be nuns or they could be sisters. The nuns are people who generally live in a cloistered community, and their objective and the whole of their life is to pray for the world. And they generally don't do a lot in public. Whereas sisters, like I am a sister, and so I have been a teacher, I've been a community developer, I've been doing other things, and that was my life work. Their life work is to nourish the spirit, to welcome people to their community, and to pray for the needs of the world. And they have a phone system in which they invite people to call in to say, what do you want us to pray for on this day? And that is their major work. They also used to have another work that they did, a manual work. And some of them still do manual work. Like there's a community down in Dubuque, Iowa, and they make they make caramels. as their profession.
Oh my.
There's another one in someplace in Kentucky, and they make bourbon
Uh-huh.
fruitcake that they sell around Christmas time.
Oh
Anyway, but
my.
that's their life work. There are other communities that make those little clergy vestments.
Uh-huh.
There's another group that makes the little wafer breads that we use for communion and different traditions.
Oh my goodness.
But
Thank
so
you.
that's generally their work in addition to their main work is prayer for the communities.
Thank you for clarifying that. I didn't even appreciate the differences. And so that's helpful. I met you actually in 2008. I was doing clinical pastoral education at Mayo
Mhm.
Clinic.
Okay.
And this imposing individual, Sister Marlys Jacks, provided a yes. She
What did I do?
You introduced yourself and explained a little bit, and I don't remember what you taught us on, but you taught us 6 CPE students on some subject of how to be a chaplain,
Oh,
and a little bit about Mayo. And you might have talked about Assisi Heights or the connection or the history of Mayo Clinic with the Franciscan nuns. It was something that was very informational to me, but I've had touch points with you over the years, and I've always respected you and then your position as I've also gotten to know more of the sisters too. And the role that you have played, as well as other sisters in Southeast Minnesota, are very well known, very well respected, and that holy ground. Usually, when I talk with people, if they know about Assisi Heights, it is always with such a element of peace to their tone, if you will.
well, thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember doing it.
No, I wouldn't think you would. You were very well intertwined in the fabric of Mayo at that time, and you might have had a full-time job. I'm not sure what you did. Um, there were a few of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Patricia.
I'm Patricia Barrier. I am not a sister or a nun.
Uh-huh.
I am a Franciscan coadjutor. I'm
Yes.
a covenanted associate with the sisters, the Rochester Franciscan community.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been a coadjutor with the Franciscans for about 2 years now. Almost going on 3.
Okay.
But I've been connected to the Franciscans since first grade. So it was inevitable that I would have a deeper association with the sisters sooner or later. So I want to speak to what Sister Marlys talked about, the holy ground here.
Mm-hmm.
It is definitely, there is something here. And I teach yoga class and some other things for Sister Marlys in the Spirituality Center. So I have people who are coming who are not of any particular religious denomination or anything. And
Uh-huh.
100% of those people will tell me the moment they drive into the gate and start up the hill, there's something. And it's something that gives them peace.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that gives them hope.
Mm-hmm.
And, this whole ground is just permeated with holiness. And it starts with the Native American and whoever was here before, and is infused by the many sisters who have lived and worked here for, since Mother 100 and some years. So it is very real. And what the sisters have promoted on this land and in this community is this sense, as Marla said, of we don't own this. This is stewardship. We have to care for us. We have to be able to give it to the next generation. And the sisters don't just talk about that; they live that here.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful.
Yes.
I love this place.
Well, and we love to share it. I mean, we love to, it's not just ours. That's the whole thing. It's
Yeah.
not just ours to walk on this holy ground, this property. It belongs to the community. It belongs way beyond us, you know.
Yeah. It's a big facility.
Yes, it's the facility itself is about 450,000 square feet by
Okay.
itself. And we have about 120 acres of land that we kind of care for at this point in time.
Plenty of spaces for the bees to live.
That's great.
Yes.
And the deer. I've seen deer up there too.
The other
And
evening, I was here leaving after a liturgy,
uh-huh.
and I was coming down the hill, and a beautiful buck was there,
Oh.
and a doe, and two doves flew past, and then the woodchuck came out, and I thought, oh my God, this is holy protected ground. But what's more important here, Kelley, is
Uh-huh.
that it is open. I know that people can come and walk here. They can get a map to know. People can be welcomed here. I see people walking. I see people with strollers with kids. People can walk the labyrinth. They can sit in one of the shrines or just on one of the benches here. And so it's not, the gates are not closed to the community. And, there are many events and such that the doors are open. The public is invited. People come. And I know the sisters invite that and are encouraging more people to come. There was a big interruption and a rupture in the world with COVID that shut the doors. And I know the sisters are working very hard to open those doors again.
Oh.
Uh,
We're going to place the link to Assisi Heights in the description for this podcast so anyone can just easily find Assisi Heights, because you have a lot of activities that are, you've referenced the Spirituality Center many times, and it has many things happening all the time. And then you were talking about yoga. And so what are some of the activities that Assisi Heights hosts, or the Spirituality
and
Center?
most of them are hosted through the Spirituality Center and open to the public. There are physical programs like Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, which is one of the things I teach.
And Vedic chant.
And I'm teaching a chant class, Vedic chant class. There are music programs. There are nature programs such as, bird watching, nature walks, meditation in the forest, exploring the land and architecture here, prayer, non-denominational prayer services and events such as the singing bowls, the labyrinth walk, contemplative prayer. There are book groups who, through the Spirituality Center, read and connect on a variety of books. They're not just spiritual books, but books that have some meaning in the world. There's invitation to interfaith activities, social justice activities. There's a lot of emphasis. The sisters have focused on social justice, particularly human trafficking, restorative justice,
immigration,
other
Native American kind of spirituality as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're having two book discussions that are wonderful. One is has a Native American thrust to it. It's called To Banish Forever. And we're hoping to have the author come down and speak just before the book discussion. And basically it's the story that happens around Mankato, so it's not very far away.
Oh.
And it's these white farmers formed this Knights of the Forest, and they actually just pushed the Native Americans, the Dakota, out to the west and the Ho-Chunks out to the east. But their effort was to get rid of all the Native Americans in the southeast Minnesota or southern Minnesota area. The other one that we're doing is the one called The Women. That's about the women who served during the Vietnam War.
The nurses.
Oh
Primarily
my.
the nurses during the Vietnam War.
And everyone that's read the book said you cannot put it down because it's just so engaging. And I did meet a woman just the other day who went with me on a program, and I said, "Oh, we're doing this book," and she said, "That book is about me. I was there." So it was kind of, I got the chills when she was talking about it, thinking, "Oh my goodness, it is very moving and very painful at the same time."
Thanks to Sister Marlys's creativity, we did some theater presentations as well that were open to the public, and we did a program that I wrote that was, well, I'm going to say it's the Creche Christmas story through the eyes of the animals.
Right.
Oh my.
And then we did another one, again inspired by Sister Marlys, Two Mothers, reflecting on the Virgin Mary meeting the mother of Judas. And then I wrote another piece to it that was the mother of a young man who had shot and killed the other mother's child. And we linked it up, that idea of how do you forgive?
Right.
And so, the Spirituality Center offers so many different things. And it is, I'm going to say again, non-denominational, interdenominational. It has, it can have everything and also nothing, with everything to do with the spirit, but nothing to do with a specific religious belief. And I think that's the beauty of the outreach of the programs here, and indeed the outreach of the Sisters of St. Francis.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
I have always appreciated it. Were you going to say something, Sister Marlys?
I was going to ask Sister
Patricia?
if I left out anything from the programming.
No, I think what you're talking about at the very end is very important, the whole interrelationship, because in the fall we're going to be having a woman from Bethlehem is coming to speak. Bethlehem and where, Holy Land, not Bethlehem, USA.
Okay.
Not Bethlehem.
But not Bethlehem, Pennsylvania
is what I was thinking.
Right.
And she's coming to talk about the life in a war zone, and she's going to talk about the whole thing with the Muslims and the Christians together. That's coming up in October, so I'm really excited about it. And just to bring together the Muslims and the Christians again, we've done a lot in the past with them, with the Journey of Peace, which we did for 10 years in a row. And now we're struggling with how can we bring new stories to the forefront that involves people that think differently than we do. What about the Buddhists? What about the Muslims? And yet we all believe in a God that goes way beyond us and is bigger than us. And so bringing people together to be able to look in each other's eyes and say, there go I, or I go there.
Or I go there. Assisi Heights tackles some very serious topics.
Amen.
Spirituality is never about rainbows and bubble gum, is it? It's
never. I like that description, though.
No unicorns either.
No unicorns, because who we are, if we really are into spiritual disciplines or practices, we face these difficult questions about who we are in context to our world and how do we treat other human beings. And we're always running up these difficult issues of stewardship, ownership, pride, ego, always getting in the way. So it sounds like you make these conversations available and you host, and then you you give the opportunity for them to be let out of the bag, if you will,
Yep.
in
Yes.
an environment of welcome and hospitality, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Not antagonistic proselytizing where we're trying to convert you over to our way of thinking, but let's just all sit down at the table and hear from each other in a respectful manner.
Yeah, we are very careful about doing any proselytizing because it isn't where we want to go and it isn't what we believe in. Francis was never that way. He accepted everyone. And Mother Alfred was another one. You know, when the hospital was built, one of the things she said, we accept everybody. We don't care what your religion is, what you believe, who you believe in, you know. So I think we need to keep up that line.
That way of thinking. And Sister Alfred Moses was the one who went to Father Mayo, for those that don't know the history, and says we need a hospital here in southeast Minnesota after that tornado. And wasn't it the nuns that raised all the money?
Right, we did.
And so then Father Moses, I forgot, Mayo, I can't remember his first name.
William Worrell.
William.
Dr. William Worrell Mayo was the senior mayor.
Okay. And then he says, no, okay, all right, fine. You know, you built it. I guess I'll practice in it. And that's really how Mayo got its start.
Right. Yeah.
I think Mother Alfred was a very persuasive woman.
I've heard.
You take no for an answer.
Walking in the trust that what's been laid on your heart is going to become reality, regardless if you can see the outcome. What I hear Assisi Heights trusting in is knowing that if you nourish the good, if you plant the seeds of love, it can flourish.
And then how do you support it along the way?
Okay.
Like one of the things we're thinking about for Lent next year in 2025, of course, is stations of resurrection.
Okay.
Looking at people's lives who have been somehow destroyed in some way, or at least what their plan was in life, and how do they resurrect to a new kind of life? So it's a different way of looking at Lent. You know, Lent, we usually look interiorly and say, well, these are all the bad things, and these are all the odd things, and all things I did wrong, or whatever. But what about the resurrection stories? I mean, we have to be able to support life where it gives life to others.
Beautiful. And stations are points along some path where there's an opportunity to contemplate and reflect.
And it's a little bit of a takeoff of what we do, what Catholics usually do during Lent, which is the Stations of the Cross. And so we want to look at stations differently.
Okay. Thank you. And all this information is always found on the website. Is that a good place for people to go? And I know that there's newsletters that people can receive too.
Yes, they're both and.
Digital and print?
Digital, yes, and print, yes.
Okay.
Our catalog, so to speak, comes out twice a year. And that has all the programs in that we're doing. But in addition to that, we do have what's called Canonical Connections. I think that is sent to people who want to know what's kind of happening in the congregation. So.
Okay. Patricia,
and the schedule for all of the events through the Spirituality Center, in addition to being a print version, is all online, and there is once a week, sister, it comes out where this is what's happening in the next few days, so people can really see, you know, not only a month schedule or a half-year schedule, but every few weeks what's going to go on as a good reminder.
That's wonderful. I know the internet, sometimes you have to go here, you have to go there. So organizing it and then knowing, getting it sent to my email box is always helpful. If I know I can get the email too. So getting on the newsletter and having it sent to me that I could keep it fresh. Because yoga, you must offer that more than once a month. It must be every week or.
What I do is I offer it in 6-week blocks,
Okay.
and about 3 times
Times
a
a year.
year. It's 6 weeks block. It's open to the public. It's not just for Assisi Heights in any way, and it is a mat class that people should have some physical ability to get up and down. But
Oh,
we work with where people are at,
right.
or I work with where people are at. I usually center it also around a reflective theme. And I take my reflective themes from yogic philosophy. But like one of the themes we often use is what's called ahimsa, which is the absence of violence in the presence of kindness. And for each weekly class, we meet once a week for 6 weeks. For each weekly class, I begin and I end the class with a reflection on that. We've done other thoughts of honesty and not hoarding, but giving to others. But what I really love about teaching yoga here is I can do that because people who come here are looking not just for an exercise class, but for something else. Teach yoga in other environments where it's mainly stretching and exercise, which is beautiful and wonderful and good.
Right.
And we do that here, and we sweat a little bit too. But people who choose to come here for those classes are expecting something else with it to enhance their own thoughtfulness and their spirituality. I can't speak to the other instructors specifically, but the Qigong and Tai Chi are very much not only physical practices, but mental and spiritual practices too. And knowing the two instructors that do that, they're very spiritual women who communicate that very clearly. So.
And that definitely is a part of of at least those two presenters. They're very skilled at kind of bringing it. How does it real fit with my spirit?
Yeah. We really try, or we've tried really hard in the Western world, and we've succeeded to a large degree to keep the physical only physical, the mental only mental, and then the spiritual spiritual. But in reality, they're so integrated with one another, they're hard to separate.
Exactly.
I've appreciated the neuroscience discipline, that field, to be able to know that your emotions are carried in your cells, and then come into that reality that who we are emotionally and spiritually is so connected physically. You can't really divorce it.
I think, however, the spiritual has sort of eroded in our public domain these days. But I think it's one thing that we're experiencing we know is missing.
Yes.
We've had it before. We had it maybe in more of a tight container.
Yeah.
But now it's much broader than that, and we're kind of recognizing and realizing that. And at the same time, lots of things kind of eat into that spiritual time. So you have to make time to do it, which is more difficult because you have to actually put it on your calendar and know that it's at 3:00 today or whatever time it is, and that it's dedicated to you.
Yeah. Good point, Sister Marlys, because you do have to set aside that time.
You do.
Yeah. I interviewed and talked with Pachaman Terrace's executive director, Tim, up in Asante. And he was just talking about the fact that people can get prompted. You can get prompted. You might feel like you want to start doing this, or you might feel like you might explore that. but then you have to choose it also. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that's what you just got done addressing. So someone might, and then if they do choose to act upon something that they're feeling they're being led to or they're more interested in, Assisi Heights doors are open and say, come.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When I think about my yoga classes,
Uh-huh.
it's been interesting to me that some of the same people have been coming to my yoga classes here at Assisi Heights every time I offer them for probably 3 or 4 years now.
Very nice.
And I know it's not just the physical postures and that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think they see this as another way to expand and connect mind, body, and spirit
Mm-hmm.
that they don't get in the usual athletic facility or other programs.
The other thing I
Right.
think it is, it
Uh-huh.
helps to continue it by going deeper. And I think that's the
Mm.
element that I think we're looking for in our world today is a deeper experience, not just a surface that
Yeah.
skims the top, or not just the skin deep. It has to be
Mm-hmm.
deeper than that. It has our values and our virtues
Mm-hmm.
are at a deeper level. That's all I can say.
Right. Yeah, because how you see yourself in the world affects how you act in the world.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Uh, I just have to mention this because to some degree in the Christian world, yoga and Tai Chi are not well received.
Exactly. Yes.
Uh, and there's somewhat of a no.
Yes, yes.
And you
Yeah.
come across that?
Oh, yes, we do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Um, yeah. And my response is if it's not right for you, it's not right for you.
It's not right for you. It's not right for you.
I tried to explain that yoga in itself is not connected with any specific, it came out of India, yes, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
connected with any specific belief system or religion.
Mm-hmm.
But it is something that does have more than a physical dimension. It has a meditative dimension.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard those words.
Well,
I
I think
yes.
we have over the years
Uh-huh.
always said that what came out of the Eastern spirituality does not match with the Western spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
However, we have learned that the Eastern spirituality has been a great gift to Western thinking, and
Mm-hmm.
we're just beginning. Well, we've had some history now, but we're just beginning to kind of let it really seep into our bones and
Mm-hmm.
let it be part of our spirit that goes forward, because we need what they have to offer, and we need to relish what they bring for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the eye of curiosity is a gift that we
Mhm.
can follow along and trust
Mhm.
that it might be serving us in the greater good or not.
And that by allowing that to enter, what if it's another spirituality or where a way of looking at the world,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't diminish
Yeah.
the place that you are at.
Mhm.
If you
Mm-hmm.
have a specific system of belief and
Mm-hmm.
you let in another belief, it doesn't disrupt it. It doesn't deny it. It doesn't make that challenged in some way. It's a
Mm-hmm.
way that it can be integrated, drawn together.
Mhm.
So
See,
embracing yogic philosophy does not in any way disrupt or the philosophies of Tai Chi or Qigong or any of those things. You can still walk your own path and relish the textures and colors that come from these other things.
yeah,
Like a bunch of beautiful flowers.
and
Sometimes people think what they're learning is going to extract what's in their heart. Well, it doesn't extract anything.
oh,
It only expands it.
It only can expand it. And you were talking about, Sister Marlys, the deepening that we probably all yearn for. But our world moves so fast.
Yes.
So you have to put it on the calendar and allow it to flourish.
There are so many distractions today, that call us every different direction. I mean, even cell phones and internet. There's so many things that are available. Even when I hear schools are trying to decide if students should be having their cell phones in school, I think, I know the answer to that.
Right,
But they have a value
exactly.
too, and I don't want to discount that, but I just have
Yeah.
to say that I think we have so many things that pull us in every different direction, that we kind of lose where the center needs to go.
I was reading a book by a computer scientist writer, and he said we need to learn to embrace boredom. And I thought this was very interesting because all of us have a tendency, if nothing's going on, the first thing you're doing is looking at your phone or scrolling or texting or looking at social media feeds. And this gentleman was saying, you need to embrace boredom, and his context was not spirituality or anything, but I thought, this actually fits. In order to expand the spiritual being, you got to embrace boredom, and for a while set aside all those pings and dings and things coming through all the time. And I think that's what Sister Marlys is getting at, is all those distractions we have to figure out how to turn off, at least for a part of the day or and let yourself go inside.
This is where the sifting down into the deeper layers happens.
Exactly.
Is through the space of nothingness, really, that boredom piece.
Yeah.
And you must meet some of these. You must meet some of these things in your work as well as a chaplain.
Well, as you know, definitely. And so creating the space to allow you to sit in the silence can be difficult in today's culture. But as Assisi Heights, and we have these little pockets in our culture that allow that to happen. Yoga practice, Tai Chi practice, a lot of those contemplative practices create that space, don't they?
They do. And
learning how to breathe.
And some of the programs that sister sponsors that are contemplative prayer or vocal prayer, not asking for any laundry list of, please Jesus send me a Barbie doll for Christmas, but a prayer that is both silent and reflective and contemplative. Those opportunities are available to come and sit with others that wish to pray in that way, or come here and sit alone and pray that way, or not even label it as prayer.
Doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be. Prayer has a label that seems to be like, bring me a Barbie doll for Christmas, Jesus, which is not a bad idea, I mean,
That's right.
but we have this idea of prayer, and I think the space here can help introduce you to another dimension of prayer.
It's a different space up there.
Yep.
And we do have something called Taizé, which is another kind of prayer form. And it's kind of it's singing a mantra over and over again. Sometimes the mantra is sung a dozen times. But the emphasis is on the mantra part. What is this simple one line, half phrase, or whatever? They're all a little different. But what is it saying? How does it enter you? And so, music and singing is another form of prayer. whether we call it that or not. But anyway.
Yeah, letting it wash over you and
Mm-hmm.
then hearing it in different ways can develop your capacity for compassion. It can develop your capacity for peace. Yeah, I hear that.
And the programs that Sister has here allows people to try these things.
Oh, yeah.
Try them on. And then, if it fits, I know there's a centering prayer group that comes every week. But the invitation is someone can come and not have to have any big ceremony. They can sit, they can try it on, they can listen, and if it fits, they can come back. And that is, opening the door of that through the Spirituality Center and the doors of Assisi Heights to people to be able to experiment with these things and just see without making some huge commitment and paying a lot of money and going somewhere. They can just, how does this fit for me?
How does it?
I like the idea of how does it fit, We have
I do too.
another program that's very interesting. It's a Korean doctor, physician at Assisi Heights who's doing a whole lot of research on breathing, deep breathing. And the premise that they think they're getting close to being able to say publicly is that this type of breathing that he teaches is one of the things that has some relationship to clearing the plaque out of your brain, and that causes Alzheimer's. So he's got a lot of research, and he's such a humble and gentle man. And just to hear him talk about it, and to instruct on how people's level, they can do these different things. He has all kind of exercises to do, and they've had such good results from it that they're almost ready to declare some statement about it in the public arena.
That probably has
And it has
taken
all to do
lots
with
of
deep
years.
breathing.
With deep breathing. Oh my
And
goodness.
you've had programs on healthy aging. You've had, the spectrum of programming here is amazing. It's not any one thing. There is just a broad spectrum, probably something for just about everybody.
Yeah, we have one coming up this fall that's on magic.
Which is wonderful.
Oh, fun.
It is. It's just a different. Oh, we have one on counterfeiting too, which is another one that is kind of on the edge, but
That's a good thing.
We got
a skill we should teach people, though, sister.
Well, it's a lawyer who was doing it, so.
So they're not just somber, directly focused in on spiritual development.
No.
It really is, who are we in the context of this world, and how do we be better?
And there's laughter.
There's laughter. Oh my goodness. That's amazing. I want to just make sure that people know when you enter Assisi Heights property, you're driving up the long it's not really windy, but it's curvaceous. And you kind of go up the hill a little bit and then you park. But like we mentioned earlier, there's something different about that space. And you feel it. It invites you into it. And for some, it can be a little bit scary. So it sounds like it's okay. It might be a little bit scary, but we're not going to come at you. And then you open up those doors and you walk into, there's a lot of marble. A lot of green marble, but it's very welcoming and very warm. So it's designed to be very welcoming. And you can learn a lot about the history. I think the classes are probably easily accessible from the front entrance, if you will.
Yes.
Okay. But
and
the property.
We have lots of tours too, so if people want tours just to even know the story, that's helpful. We have architectural tours. We also have tours of Wilson House now. And we have tours of the Assisi Heights and environmental tours and green side tours and I don't know, all kinds of different tours anyway.
Thank
Even the
you.
swallows, the birds, the swallows in that nest here. There was a program on that with the birding.
Right.
It's
Oh
it's
my.
truly a broad and eclectic mix. No one
Yes.
thing.
No one thing.
Yes. For those that are unfamiliar with sisters and sojourners, I would like to
Cogent.
just sojourners, excuse me, extrapolate a little bit more information, because one of the things I learned about sisters is a lot of them are very highly educated individuals that travel the world and then
Yeah.
serve in wherever they find themselves. There might be, are they assigned to that place, or is it their lane? And
Well, it's changed over the years. In the early days, yes, we were assigned a place to minister.
okay,
But I don't know, since the late 60s, we selected where we wanted to minister. So
okay,
people have gone to where they had experience, like the people who knew Spanish went to work in Spanish communities. Those who worked in the Appalachian area were either from there or had a lot of connection there. Some
mm-hmm.
people did world kind of, and we had a couple of schools in South America. So there were a variety of ways in which, and this next weekend, I'm going to be going myself. I'm going back to Cambodia, where I did teach for a while,
Okay.
to visit. And they're having a dedication of their 30 years since we built the first school there now.
Oh,
And now there are over 9,000 students in that school. So they have 4 building spaces that are relatively close together. But anyway, it has grown since in 30 years, which is
mhm.
and it was very well organized and whatever.
And so tending to it. And then I just want to make sure that we touch a little bit more on the cojourner,
Mhm.
because someone might feel led that they want to move to a different type
Mhm.
of interaction. And so cojourner is a program that
It,
someone,
I would call it more than a program. It's a
okay.
partnership. It's an association. Um,
Mm,
the Sisters of St. Francis that is grounded in taking in and living the same values as this that the vowed sisters make. We
mm,
just celebrated the 40th anniversary of the Cojourner commitments.
okay.
When a person decides to want to pursue being a cojourner,
Mm-hmm.
there's a period of study and formation that's done with one of the sisters
Okay.
and possibly one of the other cojourners that has been following this path.
Mm,
I'm going to say it's non-denominational.
Mhm.
You do not have to be Catholic or even Christian. There are
mm,
members of the cojourners that are not in Christian denominations,
mm-hmm.
but the binding, the glue that binds us together is the the views of the Sisters of St. Francis and what they live in terms of um, uh, social outreach, commitment to
Mm,
the environment, commitment to minority, meaning those who are not represented,
mm,
who don't have. I'm going to say the poor, the unrepresented, those that do not have a voice. That is the essence of the partnership
okay.
that we try to walk the same path as the sisters. We're not
Mm,
vowed members of the community, but we do make a covenant. We make a public covenant that we are going to live as
mm,
a Franciscan.
Yeah,
Um,
Franciscan values.
and that's the essence of it. I mean, my connection is with the Rochester Franciscans and Sister Marlys's community. Other Franciscan communities in the area and worldwide have, some call them cojourners, some call them associates.
okay.
But the essence of it is the values of the Franciscan values.
Okay.
And it does not require that you do this program or that program, or you again, like Sister Marlys was saying, the sisters follow what they see as their service, or their area. That, like, Sister worked in Cambodia, and I know she worked a whole lot more places, but
Yeah.
that Cojourners, in our partnership with the sisters, we find what our call is, and we try to follow that call according to the Franciscan values. And the Franciscan values are part of the Rochester Franciscans, but they're a bigger value, or it's a bigger thing worldwide, that goes back to St. Francis in the 1200s. And
the interesting thing is that it's a supportive group for both parties, for both the Cojourners and for the sisters.
Absolutely.
There's a real linkage of what our beliefs are and how we live in the world and our way of life, how they mesh, and how we need each other. We can't live by ourselves, and neither can they.
Right.
So, we can in some ways, but for the spirit of who Franciscan values are, we need each other.
That interconnection.
Yeah.
And we do have that connectivity. We meet together, we work together, we laugh and eat together. I mean, there's a lot of things that we do, the Cojourners and the sisters do together, to try to kind of magnify what we all do.
Bring about a better world.
Well, I will say that's the essence. I shouldn't speak because I'm here with a Franciscan sister, but trying to make this world a better place for everybody and all things.
Is it gender identified, or is it open?
There are male Cojourners too. That's not.
So it's a way to partner up with the Franciscan sisters.
Yeah. Okay. I know other religious orders, like the Benedictines, they call them oblates. It's not unique to the Franciscans to have this kind of lay community partnered with the vowed community, but we're pretty lucky to have St. Francis. I'm pretty lucky to have the Rochester Franciscans as my partners.
Yeah. You have people like Patricia right here.
Yeah, there's so many Cojourners.
Yeah.
Who are in all sorts of walks of life and stages of life and viewpoints, which is beautiful. So
if someone feels prompted, just reach out, maybe try it on.
Right.
And then if you feel like you want to, then you move into the next step, which is making a commitment.
The process takes a year to sometimes 2 years of study with one of the sisters. And so you have plenty of time to decide and discern, okay, this is something I can make a covenant with. I feel my fellow Cojourners take that covenant very seriously. Very seriously.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast. Vows. Giving your word.
I would defer that to the vows.
Oh my goodness. We've been talking for an hour.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that lovely?
That's beautiful.
It is beautiful. So thank you. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you would like to close out with?
We talked about a lot of different things. Oh no! I mean, I think what we talked about was kind of spread the world around. I mean, spread around the world. And so that's, I think, what we want to capture. I mean, incidental things and things that are happening today, tonight, and tomorrow are not really apropos for this. But it's good to know that what we all seek is something we seek together. It's not just that I have a corner of the market on it and therefore I can sell it. I don't want to, it's not my point to do that, but our effort is what is it that we can do together to make this a peaceful, compassionate world? And compassion is one of the things that I think is missing. And how do we help each other learn compassion?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Patricia?
I'm going to just second that. You know,
Okay.
the essence of everything is compassion.
Yeah.
You know, I think that was Francis's message. That's the Rochester Franciscans' essential message, that
Mm.
extending compassion out to the world through yourself in any way, large or small, each day in some way.
Thank you. Thank you.
But I gotta